The most famous and feared gladiators of Rome. What follows is a discussion of some of the most well-known names of men who took on the arena and managed to not only survive, but thrive. We have all seen images of gladiators in the arena through TV, movies, and books. These men continue to inspire courage in us through their acts of bravery in the arena. Roman gladiators and gladiatrices were men and women from all walks of life taken as slaves from every part of the empire. Tasked with entertaining the masses, they were the celebrities of the ancient Roman world. If they survived, they were treated like royalty. For those not so fortunate, severe injury might have been the best thing that they could hope for. Many were maimed or killed in the arena. Carpe Forest. Carpe Forest was the kind of gladiator who takes on wild animals or beasts, also known as bestiari. The men who were responsible for looking after the beasts were also known as bestiari. Often, when man and animal met, there was only one winner. The vicious creatures gave their tired, hungry and worn-out opponents little chance. However, Carpe Forest embraced the challenge and became a living legend. Roman writer Martial states that Carpe Forest once killed 20 animals at one time and regularly took on bears, lions and leopards. Bestiarius, MD. According to Top 10 Famous Roman Gladiators 2020. Carpe Forest once saw off a rhino with nothing more than a spear. He was one of the most anticipated gladiators to ever set foot in the arena. The Roman people loved to root for a particular class or type of gladiator. Many were trained to use specific weapons, depending on their skill and body type. Romans liked to see specific kinds of gladiators pitted against each other and would pay large sums of money betting on who was going to win. Flammer. Flammer was a slave from Syria who was forced to fight in the arena. His real name was Marcus Calpurnius, but he was renamed Flammer or Flame for the arena. He was a class of gladiator known as a secutor, meaning he carried armor, a heavy shield, and a short sword or gladius into the fights. He won 21 fights and lost about 4. He was awarded his freedom, but elected to stay and fight in the arena. He died at around age 30 in his final battle. Deaths in the arena were common, but they were sometimes avoided, if at all possible. These men were celebrities and their deaths would send the wrong signals to people watching. Training a gladiator was costly, and good money was paid for people to see specific gladiators. The loss of a gladiator through death or injury would have hurt the popularity of the arena games. Gannicus. Gannicus was considered to be one of the most able gladiators of his generation. Originally hailing from the British Isles, he was noted for his incredible speed, athleticism, and agility. He was able to more easily evade his enemy attacks, and this made him a formidable opponent in the arena. His body was covered in tattoos, one of which represented invincibility. The Romans enjoyed watching agile gladiators, as they made the games more exciting. Men like Gannicus would have received top billing. Speculus. Speculus is most known for having ties with the evil Emperor Nero. He was both loyal and supportive of Nero, even when it seemed all others were deserting Nero at the time. This impressed the villainous emperor, and he granted Speculus his freedom. Marcus Attilius. Marcus Attilius is an unusual addition to this list, because he might be one of the few gladiators to voluntarily sign up to fight in the arena. He was born a free Roman, not a slave. He was regularly able to hold his own against far more skilled and experienced opponents, and this was evident from early on in his gladiatorial career. He also overcame other notoriously difficult opponents, such as Rasius Felix, who had won 12 fights in a row, and Hilarus, another gladiator favored by Nero. Attilius fought in the Murmillo class, using a short sword and a longer shield. Commodus. Commodus was the tyrannical emperor from the latter part of the 2nd century, but he was also noted for his prowess facing gladiators in the arena. However, how skilled he was is difficult to tell, because he would often disable or cripple opponents before getting into the arena with them. Opponents would fight with small wooden swords, while Commodus had the real thing. He also enjoyed killing animals, which drove down his popularity as a result. His style of fighting was considered unfair amongst the Roman public, and he was often jeered. The Romans had a great sense of fairness, and Commodus's actions only served to harm his cause even further. Tetratus. Tetratus was another gladiator in the Murmillo class, who won notoriety by beating a fellow celebrity gladiator, Priscus. He was considered to be one of the strongest gladiators of his generation, and his victory against Priscus is immortalized in graffiti discovered in the ruins of Pompeii back in 1817. Tetratus used to enter the arena without a shirt, but wearing a helmet and carrying a short sword and a rectangular shield. This would have been considered against type, as most gladiators would armor up as much as possible, depending on what kind of fight they were going to undertake. Priscus and Varus. Priscus was a Celtic gladiator and was both skilled and powerful in the arena. His partner Varus was also one of the most influential gladiators of his generation. The two used to make a headline act for the games, especially on the opening of the Colosseum. The games themselves consisted of mock naval battles, animal fights, and gladiatorial battles. Under the rule of the Emperor Titus around 81 AD, these spectacles were intended to try and appease the Roman masses before the entertainment began. Priscus and Varus did end up fighting each other, but such was the respect between these two men that they laid down their arms and did not injure or kill each other. This is still noted as a spectacular development in the history of Roman gladiatorial games, and it is recorded as such. Over time, the two men began to be referred to as a collective, rather than as individuals. Roman crowds loved to see a spectacle, so the more spectacular the bout, the more people would come to watch the games. Two men fighting on a team would have definitely attracted the attention of the crowds in what was usually a single combat sport. Crixus. Crixus was a gladiator from Gaul, noted for his size and strength. He trained together with Spartacus at the gladiatorial school known as Lentulus Batiatus. A large number of the gladiators, about 70 in total, escaped the school due to the harsh training from their ionista, or trainer. They formed a factional group, and under the leadership of Spartacus, attempted to overthrow the Roman government. He was killed during the rebellion. Spartacus. Spartacus was considered to be one of the greatest, if not the greatest, gladiators of all time. He was a Thracian turned Roman soldier, eventually joining the training school at Capua. His biggest legacy is rebelling against Rome in 71 BC and incurring the wrath of Crixus, who arrived bringing 50,000 troops to crush the revolt. He was killed in the Battle of Sicily, and his followers were executed in large numbers. What made these men so great was that they were willing to put their lives on the line in order to impress the mob that was the Roman people. Their bravery and their heroism stands out. Not all great Roman gladiators survived, and many were mortally wounded doing what they felt called to do.